offside.
Welcome back to another episode of No Offsides. I'm Dan Dean here with a special guest, Tony Aromandi from the Buttery Roller Company. Tony, how are you?
What's up, Dan? How you doing? Thanks for having me, bud.
As you know, and I know, and a lot of people in your group know, we tried this once already.
Yeah, we did.
But sound quality from technology did not go our way.
Yeah. That's just the way she goes. Hey, we had a great chat, though. I enjoyed getting to sit down for, I don't know, we probably chatted for what, like 45 minutes.
Yeah. I mean, it was great. It's just, this is nice being in my own home, and you seem to be outside enjoying the Florida heat.
Yeah,
But there's something special about being at the rink doing a live podcast and just talking hockey.
Yeah, that was really cool. Just being able to, just being up in Nashville for the Wish Cup was really cool. We brought 5 teams, like 50 guys, and then just sitting in the booth, at the rink with the sights, the sounds, and everybody kind of crowded around. That was a lot of fun. But this is rad, and I'm glad we're getting to reconnect again a few weeks later. Things have kind of calmed down a little bit.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, you already talked, let's talk Wish Cup, right? You talked about having 5 teams there. You guys had a pro team that showed pretty well for, it seems like, their first time together as a group in a pro scene?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, they're all Florida guys. It really, I got, a group of guys from a few different teams. And yeah, I mean, a lot of us play together, down here in Stewart. So there's, plenty of familiarity and Florida, it's a big little roller hockey scene, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So a lot of the guys knew each other, and that was a blast. I was stoked with how they played. I felt we could have won a couple more games. They were right there, and we'll be back and better. I'm sure we're going to keep the group primarily together as
Sure.
as long as everybody can get around. But then bringing up all the guys and gals for the AB and club divisions, that was freaking so much fun. Having all of us up there together. We're all like, we had this big B&B with like 3 houses on it, and it was like only cost us each like $100 per person, and it was like probably wasn't good for performance because it's like good luck going to bed, right? So yeah, we had too good of a time.
Well, and then you're talking about too good of a time, right? Which is like, which is what, like you're talking downtown Nashville, right? So downtown Nashville, you guys seem to have a blast.
Yeah, that was nuts. We ended up at Barstool one night, and our buddy, and he's on the Buttery Foundation board as well, Justin. He's connected with them in some way, and we ended up getting a table and like had one of those signs.
Yeah.
And I've never had anything like that in my life, right? So to have all of us there in that bar, like roped off, and then these absolute smokes come walking out with a Buttery roller hockey fuck sign. Dude, oh man, I'll laugh about that forever. So that was the time. The next day was tough, but sweat it out in the first one and
Sure.
keep it rolling.
I mean, it was hot enough to sweat it out there.
For sure. I mean, really, it's so damn hot here that, Nashville was a bit of a reprieve, that people talk about like the elevation in Colorado getting you, and those guys having an advantage there because they're used to it.
Yeah.
And then, so maybe that's our advantage here is being able to deal with that humidity a little bit better.
Oh, for sure. Now, let's talk Buttery Roller Company, right? I mean, so we know that Florida at one time was big scene for roller hockey, and I'd say it might even be longer, but in the last 10 years, it's kind of taken a hit. I mean, what is the goal about creating Buttery Roller Company, and then also because you guys have your own league in South Florida too?
Right. So, I mean, what's the goal with starting Buttery Roller? So we're coming up on our 2nd year now, which is cool. But, Buttery's been a team since 2011. and we started as just, a house league team. We had an indoor rink here at Palm Beach Skate Zone, and we lived there. We would travel to different local tournaments. We would do Archer tours when they were here in Florida. But other than that, that was really all we had here. And then 7-8 years ago, Skate Zone turned that roller sheet into a third ice sheet, and that just killed everything for us here. I mean, not to mention, I mean, there's been so many other rinks that have closed down over the years, on both coasts, Central Florida, used to have that big like Disney tournament back in the day. That doesn't happen, so there, it was progressively just going down until it was, nothing. And then the only way we could even play was, to stay together as a team was just to play ice together, which is and was a blast. But, we're roller guys, and that camaraderie aspect, that I think is kind of doubled with roller in general, right? Like that was something that, we really enjoyed. So with starting, Buttery Roller, it took, I should have done it years ago, I was just busy with other things in my life. But yeah, I mean, the goal really was just, hey, we want to play more hockey, more competitive hockey locally more often. And we've got like an awesome outdoor rink up in Stewart that's got a great roof on it. It's big, and there's a lot of guys here that still wanted to play. So we just started doing our own like little draft Ironman tournaments that were just had their own unique and fun things to them, with like the draft cards and chirping all the guys. That was a unique advantage I have, just kind of knowing everybody around here. So I could kind of do that a little bit. And then that caught on, so it was like, well, if we're gonna do this, like let's print some shirts and give them away, and if people want to buy them, great. So we did that. People were like, yo, these shirts are awesome, you need to do more. So after a few Ironmans, and it was like, let's do like a big full team tournament. When was the last time that's happened here? So we did the Buttery Cup, and then it's like, shit, why don't we just start our own leagues on Mondays and Tuesdays? Have an A league again, have a B league, and then we do it as like the dynasty, like keepers draft format. So there's like a captain and co-captain. They stay season over season, and they can protect like a skater or two, right?
Like fantasy football.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, we've been doing that now, and led into doing the foundation and doing charity tournaments, and it's just been like incremental growth. I don't think there was ever like a clear this is what Buttery Roller Co. is gonna do and gonna be. It was like, hey, I love hockey, I love being around the guys, I love being around the rink, I want to do it more often. The only way I can really do it more often is if it is a revenue stream, and can help me progress my life, so this is a passion thing for me, and I'm trying to get it to a point where I can just do this and bring the Buttery vibe and energy to other rinks, other towns, and do those tournaments, and be a goofball on social media and have fun with that stuff, so I think what Buttery Roller is very kind of like fluid as things evolve. But we're really just focused on community, camaraderie, culture, because that's what keeps people around.
Yeah, well, and you get to see through like social media posts people's personalities, and you get to kind of see the camaraderie of the Buttery Roller Company's league and stuff like that, and it's just really nice to see that that there's still high potential for roller hockey to succeed in Florida.
Oh yeah, no, it's coming back. I mean, unfortunately, I'm hearing that Stadium in Fort Myers is no longer going to be a thing, but Todd Burgle with the Naples rink over there, they're enclosing their rink.
Oh, nice.
And we're getting Stillmat installed this summer here at our rink, so we're gonna have two good rinks on each coast that are rocking and growing from youth to pro, and I think with the success of like the Florida Panthers, the Lightning, Even like that was it. Ooh, the Stolar Bears are doing well. Everblades, like, so hockey in Florida is thriving.
Yeah.
Roller is just so much more accessible. So yeah, I think it's a winning formula right now, and if everybody kind of pulls in the right direction
Sure.
and we're helping each other out and not, trying to step on each other's toes, then I think, you know, great things are going to continue to happen.
Yeah. I mean, you got you guys in South Florida. You have Naples slash Fort Myers, right, area that has technically two rinks at the moment.
Right.
And the stadium always hosts, whether it's Echo or um, Florida Cup, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah, the Florida Cup, I think, Tours even does like a regional
okay,
there. Or yeah, I mean, yeah, there's plenty of
and
tournaments. And
then
then there's also the
yeah,
CFIHL in Orlando. And those guys like are just absolute beauties, been around forever.
and,
Just
and
awesome
yeah,
people.
it's another league that's got a great social media presence, and
Yeah, yeah, they're
another one that I like to check out every once in a while. And it's a it theirs is essentially just like a league set up to where it seems like, hey, you guys, this is your team, and then if you don't want to
yeah.
be on this team anymore, you get traded.
Right, right, right. Yeah, I'm not sure like of their exact setup.
Yeah.
I know, David and I have talked at length about a bunch of stuff, and we really, collaborated together. I learned a lot from, just kind of observing what he was doing over there, and
Okay.
then with, setting up our leagues and getting that going, and I would say vice versa, because now they're doing some tournaments up there too, which is awesome. The more the merrier,
Yeah, for sure.
and the more good people that are in it, it is what's most important. So I love to see it.
Yeah, I mean, you guys, like I said, we talked about social media a little bit, but you guys, it, you have some interesting clips, um, that make me laugh pretty good. I mean, where does the social media aspect come into like is it just something extra or is it promotion? I mean, where would you put it?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a little bit of everything. I'm proud of what we've got and what we do, so I want to show that off. B, I want to attract more people, be it in our area or outside of Florida, to what we've got going on here. Um, and see, like I'm a personality guy. I like to have fun, and so I feel like that's a place where I can do that. And I think we don't even have like 2K followers yet, but it's all organic. I don't run ads, so the people that are there, want to be there. And more and more people are coming along, so that's cool. So yeah, I think the goal with social, I mean, obviously, is to grow that and hopefully like monetize that or turn that into apparel, people buying merch and stuff, who aren't here. But again, I think with everything, it's and just kind of just going with the flow and seeing what organically kind of
Sure.
feels right, for what's next.
I mean, I could tell you this hat fits really nice on me.
Yeah, we're both styling over here. Look at us.
you know,
You
it, and I can say the stickers are another plus, which I forgot to bring them in my office, but I have them.
nice,
So
nice.
I'm just trying to really figure out what I want to stick them on.
Yeah,
But
it's such a big decision.
yeah, I know.
Where's the sticker gonna live for?
But
Well,
yeah, I mean, but like your branding is great. Your the apparel that I've seen, the just your tent that you had at Wish Cup that created a crowd for you guys, and everyone's wondering like, especially for people who don't follow you on social media, like who are these people? Like
mhm,
there's like you guys went into such detail for just your tent and your backdrop for your tent that and
right.
the presence of how many people you brought.
Hmm.
It drew a big crowd and people enjoyed having you guys at Wish Cup.
Yeah, I'm glad. Like we just want to hang out and have a good
Sure.
time. And yeah, like as far as like branding and creative stuff goes on, like I've been a creative person since I was a teenager, just being in a band, and writing music and touring and doing all that stuff, which also had we're doing our own merchandise, of course, there.
Sure.
So I've always kind of been a creative thinker. And then now, I can take these ideas I have, like for that Wheeling for Wellness, big banner, with the Buttery Brick Road, right?
Mhm.
That's just like,
Yeah.
sometimes I just think of stuff and I'm like, ooh, yeah. And then what if we do that? And then you
Yeah.
do this and that. And fortunately, got an awesome designer, Ryan Miller at Gatsby Apparel, that, draws, illustrates all of our stuff, does all of our merch. And he's a lot of fun to collaborate with. Um, and with the logos, Steven at Unify had done the skate logo for us, and,
Okay.
and he's done a bunch of jerseys for us in the past. So yeah, I've been lucky to find and team up with like really talented artists,
Yeah.
that can kind of take my crazy ideas and bring them to light in a way that resonates with people. So yeah.
Well, and the Buttery, I mean, just the pro jerseys were sick. I mean, all y'all that had, all the Buttery teams, all those jerseys were really nice as well.
Hell yeah.
So I mean, the designs, like I said, I'm a big fan of your guys' designs, for apparel and jerseys and hats and stickers and stuff like that. You throw it back to like Grand Theft Auto, and you take designs that work for especially South Florida, right? So
Hmm. Right.
your marketing is
Yeah, the
top.
Grand
Is,
Theft Auto for the league is a lot of fun. I
yeah.
need to, yeah, because the Buttery Beer League, or we call it the BBL, which is just hilarious to me, and I'm just a sucker for a pun. So I was
Yeah.
like, yeah, the Buttery Beer League sounds good. Oh, the BBL, I love it. Like that does something for me. But yeah. So we need to kind of lean into that GTA theme a little bit more. I need to do some merch like with that design on it,
Yeah.
because we do like shirts for like all the guys in the league like each season. So like the first one was like remember that there was like athletic shirts, like the property of
Yeah.
this. So we did property of the BBL, and then this season we did like a Back to the Future theme.
Okay.
So back to the BBL, or back to the Buttery Beer League. I really like that, but yeah, it's fun. I just try and kind of create stuff that I want to wear, and
Sure.
that I think's cool. And I really like leaning into like kind of the tattoo style designs that are just
Okay.
like more like kind of like American traditional, just like kind of tough, but like cool and fun at the same time.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, and you guys are in South Florida have rolled in 2 Stanley Cups in a row, um, and then
Like,
recently, just posted on social media. You what was it? Lundell's out there on roller skates having fun outside. So
yeah, dude. I just saw that yesterday, and I was like really stoked to see it, but I was so jealous. I was like, man, I wish I was down there. That's like at the War Memorial of the practice facility. There's a rink right out back of that, so
okay.
they do pick up there. I think I read it was like Tuesdays and Thursdays. But yeah, I know he's gone out there before, so I was stoked to see it. But I was like, dude, you gotta take a little hike and come up and roll Buttery sometime. Like that would be so sick. Um, but yeah, dude, back to back Cup champs. Are you kidding me? Like, what a time to be alive. I'm born and raised South Florida. I've been playing hockey since I started when I was like
Yeah.
5, 6 years old. So that was when the Panthers started in '93. I'm 36. So like seeing them, just be this good the last few years, and then back to back Cup wins. Like my poor liver, dude. Like, good lord, it's been a really fun week, that's for sure. But yeah, hopefully they keep it going. Who knows, man? Who knows?
Now, with someone like Lundell or anyone in the NHL playing role, do you think like this, especially for it being in South Florida, like a Florida Panthers player, do you think this kind of helps the push for roller hockey in Florida?
Of course. Like yeah, I mean, like hockey being good in Florida helps all hockey grow in Florida. I don't care. Ice is obviously booming down here now, but rollers getting that uptick again, and you see, counties and people investing back into the sport.
Sure.
So like that's super encouraging. So especially, just dude, like to play beer league, it's like 450, $500 for ice, and it's like playing what, like 12 games in the playoffs, and it's like it's just a lot of money, but like with roller, our last season it was a buck 55. You get 10 games, the playoffs, we do different parties, you get a t-shirt like on like nice material, so it's like it's just so much cheaper and more accessible, especially as we get the still mat installed, and we won't be like torching our sticks and wheels
Yeah.
anymore.
Oh yeah.
So that's going to be huge. So yeah, I think roller is so accessible and so good just for like training your ice game and getting your hands and the vision and the patience and puck touches. Like playing 4-on-4. Where you're skating the whole rink.
Yeah.
So and there's a lot more time with the puck. So those small area games, finding those little odd mans, like, so I think it's great for developing a good ice game.
Sure.
So I think anything the Panthers do down here in Florida, especially if they can start backing us more with roller and pushing it a bit, I think we can get back to a really, really healthy place and Buttery to the moon, baby.
Well, and I've seen you guys have had like Buttery groups go to like Florida Panthers game
Yeah,
and do
yeah.
stuff like that. So I feel like your camaraderie's there, and I feel like you guys have to be noticed since you guys are doing big crowds at like Panther
Yeah,
games.
yeah, and they've definitely started to notice us, no doubt. Like first with that event, like we put on a whole ass like show in the parking lot, like the tailgate. Like had our buddies band set up, like it
Nice.
was unreal, great time. There was like 100 of us. Then did the photo on the ice, and like that was super cool. But then as I started talking about earlier, we started the nonprofit organization, and through now being set up to do like really good things that also can bring in a lot bigger eyes,
Yeah.
right? And deeper pockets, like the Panthers, who can really help us do good things and
Sure.
do it together. So when we announced the Wheeling for Wellness tournament for Mental Health Awareness Month, we reached out to the Panthers and the Lightning, and they donated like a signed Reinhardt jersey, a signed Barkov puck, had a Ryan McDonough signed stick, and what was no, it was a Hedman signed stick and a McDonough puck from the Lightning. So they donated those items to the silent auction, and then followed up about it. We've talked, and hopefully we can kind of go to the next level when we do it again next year, and really kind of partner with them further. But we'll see what happens, right? But it seems like the interest is there. So yeah, I'm really excited for whatever's next. I
Yeah.
think it's going to be good.
Well, and so like you talked about the Wheeling for Wellness. Do you mind telling viewers what that is? What you guys put on?
Yeah, so that was like a mental health awareness charity tournament, and we teamed up with a couple different charities. One being Finding a Lost Voice, who they pay for like people's therapy, get guys help, however they need, and then also a charity called Same Here Global, who's like more involved with like grassroots education. About mental health and doing different programs, be it in schools, offices. He works with a lot of professional like sports organizations. So really cool stuff. So we decided to team up with them for that year. And it also honored our fallen teammate, Abdullah Dajani, who we lost 7 years ago. So it was a little under a year from when Skate Zone closed the indoor rink to when we lost Abdullah. And he was, my best bud, a lot of our best friends. He was a lot of people's best friends. A lot of people really loved that dude, and he was an unreal hockey player and just super humble and kind. Would do anything for anybody. But when he lost roller, it really it fucked with him,
Yeah.
and then other things happen in life, and you don't have that weekly place to go to anymore to see your buddies and do the thing you love, and that's that'll that'll get any of us,
Oh,
man.
for sure.
Like it's life is tough, and you need people around you. So that was in a large part what Wheeling for Wellness was about. It was to honor him and raise some money for some good, and show the people, who are here and involved, that they've got somewhere to go and that it ain't going anywhere. And we want more people here. Um, you know, as adults, we need an outlet and we need support from our peers. So that's a big part of where all of this comes from. And now we get to really put that energy into action with the foundation. So yeah, I'm really proud, and really excited, and forever anxious. But I think things are looking good here.
Yeah. No, I mean, I, I'm I'm glad. How do I want to say this? I'm very happy that you shared, something so personal. Um, what people need to hear stuff like that, for their whether it's for their own sake or just we can do so much more than just play the game, and
For
that's
sure.
and that's why I love what you and Buddy Roller Company are doing.
I think we have to, Dan. Like, I think it's like our responsibility, like as just like humans and in general, but also as people, like yourself who run these organizations and bring these people together. It's gotta mean more than showing up, getting dressed, playing, and
Yeah,
leaving. Because we all need more than that. And I know, guys, you have your families, you have this, you have that. Some guys don't have any of that,
yeah,
and their family is that hockey rink. So, I think we've got to kind of listen up a little bit more, pay attention, and, extend a freaking hand,
yeah,
and also be patient, like, as there's a lot of personalities that you deal with when you're running a hockey league
oh yeah,
or any business or whatever, but people have got their own stuff going on that you don't always know about under the surface. And granted, there's like a line that shouldn't be
yeah,
crossed. Um, but I think a little patience, understanding, and like curiosity and just desire to be of help, goes a long way,
for
in
sure.
changing someone's day or life even, um, because you just never know. So yeah, I don't mean to like harp on it, but I
No,
really do think it's like it's a responsibility that
oh
we
yeah.
have and should take on, with open arms and enthusiasm.
No, listen, you're talking about you don't mean the harp. I love it. So, you know, it's like I said, I'm, which is why this is one of the reasons why I wanted Buddy Roller Company on here is because of the things that you all do, right? You can have a league, but the league is just the league, and when you start doing more than just the league, and you start doing more community based stuff, I mean that's what the sport's about. The sport is about you can build camaraderie amongst your league, but you could also do kind of what you do and put it all out on social media and like, hey, this is what we're doing. Like,
Yeah,
here's a silent auction. If you want to help donate, then then buy something from our silent auction,
yeah,
right? And
right.
so I personally went through the same thing, and I'm still going through the same thing with my league. Not having a rank and trying to keep people engaged and stuff like that. And
You
trying every outlet I can to help the people, my community.
Yeah, you guys do so much too, like with that storm, man. Just unbelievable, and major kudos to everything you've done, leading up to that, and especially since, it ain't easy. And Asheville is, lucky to have you. That's
Yeah.
for sure.
Well, and I can't take full credit for it. I've done
Of course.
I've tried what I can do, and other people help out, which I'm sure other people that help you out with what you've
Absolutely.
done. So,
Yeah.
you
No,
know,
no doubt about that.
and it's just something about allowing other people in and trying to, you know, even if it's a small community, helping them out and helping the individuals amongst that community can just go a long way.
Yeah, for sure, dude. A little goes a long way, for sure.
Yeah. Now, I mean, what better question to ask of like, what's the future look like for South Florida hockey or Buttery Roller Company?
So the future for Buttery, well, so we just, I haven't officially announced it yet, but we now finally have an online store. So butteryroller.shop. So we got some merch on there. We'll be getting a bunch more on there. But that's now open. Uh, like I said, we're getting the still mat installed this summer, so just kind of waiting for that to finalize and then ship over. Um, so right now, actually this weekend we have our end of season playoff tournament. So instead of doing it like over like playoffs over like a period of 4 weeks, we're just gonna knock it out, in a day, have both leagues there together,
Nice.
and just I think it's gonna be like a lot of fun. So that's this Sunday. After that, yeah, Stillmat goes in. We're gonna go to the Florida Cup. We're bringing some teams out there.
Okay.
A double A, a single A, and a club team that we're gonna bring. And then, yeah, so after the Stillmat, so that's supposed to be like August.
Okay.
So we're planning to do like an Ironman tournament, like Labor Day weekend, and then in November, I got to finalize the date here after the 4th, but we're planning to do another charity tournament for November. So that I think that'll be like really cool. I'm excited for that. And then, yeah, from there, I'd really like to start taking Buttery tournaments and like just that energy to
Sure.
other, cities, states. So there's like an awesome rink in Georgia. I think it's like northern Georgia. It's like outdoor covered that looks like tile.
Yeah.
That would be sick. Like it'd be cool to go to Nashville, do something. Yeah, so maybe Colorado. I want to bring it around,
Yeah. Yeah.
and I think that's one way that Buttery can really kind of scale out and become that thing I was talking about, where it can be my lifeblood and what I get to do with it. Um, so yeah, kind of just keep on doing our local stuff, keep the leagues going. I'd like to start like a third C league, so we could like get more like recreational, guys more involved that don't feel like they can play in the B,
Okay.
because that it's getting better and better
Yeah.
season over season. So I want to make sure that everybody has a place, and that everyone's having a good time, and feels like they're progressing their games, if that's what they want to do. So yeah, I guess there's a lot of things that are next for
Yeah.
Buttery. And we're just kind of humping along and doing what feels right when it feels right. So yeah, I really want to take some tournaments on the road
Okay.
next year. I could do like 3 tournaments, out of South Florida. That would be a lot of fun.
Nice. Yeah. Well, let me know which ones you're going to. Because I might potentially be going to them as well. So
Yeah. So I mean, and that's the other part of it, is supporting other tournaments.
yeah.
I want to keep on doing that, and I'd like to do it more. Because like having 5 teams at the Wish Cup was sick. To
Yeah.
do
Oh
go
yeah.
Florida Cup with a few teams, that's going to be awesome. So I want to do more, probably more in like the summers. I think will be a bigger part of the summer run
Okay.
next year. And then outside of that, I'd like to be focused on doing, Buttery events. So yeah, well, see how she goes.
Hey, I mean, sky's the limit. Who knows? I mean, you may see you in Texas when if tours it goes that way. I mean, who
Right.
knows? I mean, you
I'll be
guys.
seeing, yeah, no doubt.
So I mean, the sky's the limit for you guys. So I mean, I look forward to seeing kind of what you guys grow it, like how you guys continue to grow.
I really appreciate that, Dan. Yeah, having a lot of fun, that's for sure. And it's been awesome connecting with so many people. And that was one thing that was so sick about the Wish Cup, was I got to really meet so many people. So you always meet a ton of
Yeah.
people, like at tours in Florida, like made so many great friends there. But to get out of Florida,
Yeah.
for the first time in a good while, like as for hockey, and meet like you and so many other guys was just really cool, and I'm excited for all the new friends we've made.
Yeah. And all it does is open up, you know, more. It opens up more eyes to Butter Roller Co. I mean, it will, you get more. Don't have the word, but you get more people to talk to and kind of pick their brains as well. So
It's almost like it kind of just solidifies your, like, hey, you're in it, you're in
yeah,
the mix now. That, I think that first weekend, like at Wish with the tent and the pro team, it was like definitely felt like the new guys on the block,
yeah, yeah.
and that's cool. I expected that. But by the end of that, it was like, hey, new kid's pretty cool, and that felt good.
Yeah.
So I'm stoked to be the new guys on the block, and I think our message brand resonates with people, and we're gonna have a lot of fun for a lot of years to come. So
Yeah.
let's roll, baby.
Well, and, and it just says to like it's a big shout out to your community too, right? Because you could be making this big splash, but in the wrong way.
For sure.
But with the people that you brought and the group and just South Florida community, it was definitely a good splash, and it was
Yeah.
everyone was so happy to interact with everyone from
Yeah,
Buttery.
I think like the proof is in the pudding, right? Like, if you look at our social or you interacted with our group, like you get that everyone's good dudes that
Yeah,
are like just having a good time, and we're for the most part really freaking friendly, so it's just that social proof that you people pick up on energy,
yeah, yeah.
and when it's good, it's good. So yeah, I'm stoked, and again, like you had alluded to before, there's a lot of people who have really helped make this thing like go. Be it like reffing games, bouncing ideas off, showing up early, staying late, you know, talking on the phone with me. Like I've got so many people, in my corner, and you know, I'm humbled by that. Like that's really cool.
Yeah. Before we wrap it up, do you have anything final you want to say to the viewers that you want to leave out there?
No, I think I've yapped my head off in this interview, as I do. But yeah, I think we've wrapped it up pretty good here, man. I'm really excited to be here. I'm really excited about the future. Um, you know, Follow our social and like be on the lookout for some tournaments, because if you come down, you're gonna have a freaking blast. You're gonna meet a bunch of friends. And if anybody wants, to see a Buttery tournament at their rink, like please reach out. Like let's collaborate. I may not know a bunch of teams in Texas, but like we could do it together.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's kind of where I'm at. Butteryroller.shop. I'm stoked to sell some merchandise online. Like I've delayed that too long. Um, but that's the way she goes. But yeah, that's really about it, Dan. And
Cool.
again, I really appreciate, you having us on and sharing all our stuff all the time, when I started the page, you were legit probably like the first like company, or like podcast, like group hockey community that was like, yo, I'm gonna share this. This
Yeah.
is cool. So, I really, I've always really appreciated that and thought that
Yeah.
was rad.
I mean, it's no offsides is it's kind of like we want to hear your stories, but also we just kind of want to share what's going on in any rower community. So and that's why I'm open to anyone tagging no offsides
Hmm.
and sharing as much as I can.
Yeah, totally.
So
It's been a pleasure meeting you and chatting with you, and I'll be stoked when we link up again soon.
yeah, absolutely.
Oh,
And
yeah, dude.
so on that note, make sure you like and subscribe. Make sure if you want, leave a comment. Make sure you follow Butter Roller Co. Visit butteryroller.shop, which I will put in the description below. And if you're forechecking in roller hockey, don't let up because there's no offsides. I'm Dan Dean. Tony, thanks for joining us, man. Appreciate you.
Thank you, brother. Talk to you soon, man.
I'll